I'll tell you whatever you want to know, Chastity, my Luna, Alex murmured in my ear, his lips brushing against my skin. Let's talk. Chapter 23. Ferocious Felix. The triplets and I went back to our room. We all sat on the bed. Alex looked determined. Calix had puppy dog eyes. Felix looked grumpy, clearly annoyed that he had been dragged into this. I'm angry too, you know, said Felix to the room in general. He turned to his brothers. Since when do we keep secrets from each other? Alex and Calix stared at him and then at each other. I'm sorry, Felix, said Alex in a diplomatic fashion. Sorry, Felix, mumbled Calix. Felix was still seething. We thought you'd blab to Chastity, Calix said. Yeah, except you blabbed to Chastity, Alex said. I deserve to know, I said softly. Of course you do, Alex said just as softly. He pulled me onto his lap. I let him draw me to him this time. I wasn't lying when I said I've always thought you were beautiful. I wanted a chance with you. I didn't want to complicate an already horrible situation. That was selfish of me, and I'm sorry. Felix, I almost forgot I was keeping it from you and Chastity. I kinda pushed it aside. I just wanted to be happy. My wolf was completely satisfied with that apology, but she would be satisfied with any apology. She was Team Triplets all the way. It's okay, bro, grumbled Felix. He smiled half-heartedly. Chastity, whispered Calix, pouting with his big blue eyes on me. Do you hate me? No, Calix, I love you, and I love Alex, and Felix didn't do anything this time, but I love Felix. I love all of you, I said, looking at each of their faces. They all lit up. That's why it hurts so much, I said, closing my eyes for a bit. I could feel their smiles falter. I looked at them. I want to know where my parents are, I said resolutely. I don't know, said Alex, looking me straight in the eyes. I could tell he was being honest. We really don't, added Calix. Felix shrugged. Do your parents know? I asked. They might, Alex said. Calix nodded. So your mom really cared about my dad, even though he was just her stepbrother? I asked, raising my eyebrows incredulously. Yeah, she was devastated when he drove away and left you, said Calix. She had thought he was coming back into her life after being estranged because of her dislike for your mom, only for him to leave again, skip town and leave you behind on her porch. I winced. I sighed. Do you think your mom hates me? I asked. She doesn't, said Calix. She's afraid you'll hurt us. I wanted to roll my eyes. They had hurt me. She felt as though your dad, her little stepbrother, was taken away from her and ruined by your mom, explained Alex, his tone gentle and apologetic. She was upset when she realized we belonged to you like your dad had belonged to your mom. She felt she had let trouble in her house again. The Luna was not just a snob who was indifferent to her servant. She had cold, calculated reasons behind her dislike of me. Reasons she had hid from me my entire life. That made her unforgivable in my eyes. What does the Luna think my father would think of how I was treated by her and all of you growing up? I asked. They all squirmed guilty. Felix included this time. Any good father would be outraged, but your father isn't exactly a good father, baby, said Felix. What? I asked, narrowing my eyes. Baby, he left you, Felix said softly. He was protecting me from something, I insisted, fighting back the tears and springing up off the bed to storm away. Enough! Bellowed Felix so powerfully I almost fell over. Alex stiffened. Calix regarded him with wide, shocked eyes. You're going to be the Luna of our pack, and you have to grow up, baby, demanded Felix. Your father and mother were irresponsible. They had substance abuse problems. None of this would have befallen you or them if they had made different choices. If you're gonna hold us accountable, you're gonna hold them accountable too. Your parents were not a fairy tale, baby. His yell had made me sit back down. The tears streamed slowly down my face. Alex was rubbing my back gently. Calix squeezed my hand. I can always count on Felix to make sure I never stay the least favorite for long, Calix said brightly, trying to lighten the mood. Felix rolled his eyes and folded his arms, still standing. Alex was silent. I know they were addicts, okay? I said, even softer than a whisper. I knew they heard me, being alphas and based on their worried expressions. I crawled to the middle of the bed and got under the covers. They all moved to come cuddle with me. Please, I just want to take a nap by myself, I mumbled into the pillow. I won't change rooms, but I want to be alone right now. Alex sighed deeply. He rubbed my lower back and kissed my cheek gently. Sleep tight, Luna, he murmured in my ear. He left the room. I listened to his slow footsteps. Calix gave me a bear hug and kissed both cheeks and my forehead. I'll be back, goddess. He hopped off the bed and followed Alex. It was just me and Felix now. I could sense him. I could smell him. I could feel how tense he was. I shouldn't have yelled like that. Baby, I know you want your parents. I want you to have that chance, but don't go running off to do it. I'll help you, Felix said. I shot up into a sitting position and stared at him. You mean that? Felix nodded. I launched myself at him, wrapping my arms around his neck and my legs around his waist. He caught me and held me tightly in his strong arms. He sighed into my curls and buried his nose in them, inhaling my scent. He rocked me a little. There's one condition, Felix said. I stiffened. You're not leaving with them once we find them, Felix said. I relaxed a little, realizing I was grown up now. I couldn't exactly just redo my childhood. I could get to know my parents as an adult if I could find them. What if they're not? I couldn't bear to finish that question. They just had to be. I needed them to be alive. Felix sighed. Well, by find them, I mean find out the story, what happened. Even who did it if they're, you know. And it's no big deal to kill the people responsible. What? I yelped. Felix chuckled. Baby, you're mated to 3 alphas. We have a huge pack to protect from rogues, vampires, wizards, witches, human werewolf hunters. You think we've never killed before? Even baby boy Calix? Calix, kill? I stared at Felix, remembering him saying he had went easy on me my whole life. Is that because he killed people who crossed him in the pack? In actuality? My wolf was grumbling like I was an idiot. Of course, alphas had to kill sometimes. That was why they were given such strength and speed to protect the pack from rival predators. I felt like I understood the triplets a lot better. They were cuddly teddy bears with me compared to how they acted when on pack business. I had just never seen any of that. I don't want you killing anyone to avenge my parents if it puts you and my other 2 alphas in danger, I said. I could not lose my mates. What if my parents were already lost to me? I had contemplated walking away from them many times, but now that Felix was offering this vengeance, I was terrified for his well-being and that of Alex and Calix. And, said Felix sternly, your pretty little ass stays home while my brothers and I do the digging and the dirty work to get to the bottom of everything. Why, I began. That part is not up for discussion, Felix said, eyes turning black. Rather than feeling afraid or offended, my core got wet and Felix smirked, enjoying the effect his display of dominance had on me. He tossed me onto the bed. I squealed, but it didn't hurt. I giggled, waiting for Felix to pounce on me. I'll leave you to your solo nap, baby, Felix grumbled. I pouted. It's what you asked for, he exclaimed. I curled up in the bed. My brothers and I suddenly have a lot of work to do, baby, said Felix, turning to leave. See you tonight, princess. The things I do for love, I heard Felix exclaim dramatically as he walked out into the hallway to go convince his brothers. Would the triplets really track down my parents? Or my parents' enemies? The people who made them leave town? My wedding present might be a hit on some fiend or something. I sighed, lying in the empty bed. What had I just asked Felix to do? Chapter 24. Investigator Alex. Essentially what you're saying is you promised Chastity that we'd track down her parents if they're alive, or kill her parents' killers to avenge their deaths if they're dead, said Alex, the eldest and most level-headed of the triplet alphas. Sounds like a cool movie plot. I like it, said Calix encouragingly. The youngest alpha was sweet and optimistic as usual, but missing the point. Yeah, I promised her that because it's what she wants most, and what we want most is her. Until the chapter with her parents has some kind of conclusion on it, she won't be fully present in the relationship, explained Felix, shocking his brothers. Middle child, reckless Felix had thought this through. He was making a lot of sense, but Alex and Calix were not used to this side of Felix, so they fell silent. After a few tense moments, Calix said, I think we should do it. We owe her that much, but how are we going to get Mom to be okay with this? We don't need to tell her, grumbled Felix as though that were obvious. We might, yeah, said Alex. We'll need more information on Chastity's parents, like who their old friends are, where their old haunts are. Alex was right. They needed leads. The case was 9 years old, and their mother was the only lead they had right now. Calix, are you willing to sweet-talk Mom into being okay with this? Asked Felix. Don't tell her about the avenging their deaths part if they've been murdered. Just tell her about the finding out what happened for Chastity's peace of mind part, Alex explained. Calix nodded. I can do that. Work in how if Chastity finds out enough about her parents, she'll be content enough to stay, thereby safeguarding our triplet hearts, said Felix. Good angle, commented Alex. Mom will eat that up. You got this, Calix, added Alex. Come through, baby boy Calix, cheered Felix. Calix grinned. The three alphas put the iPhone on loudspeaker. They were below deck in a game room that was made to look like a casino. There were tables for playing cards, namely blackjack and poker, with chips for betting like at a real casino. Their family had hosted real games here from time to time, but Mom had put a stop to it, saying the werewolf men got too angry when they were losing. The room also had slot machines and a pool table. The phone rang just once. Calix, sweetheart, how are you? Cooed Lunarani. Mommy misses you so much. Felix was stifling a snicker. Alex nodded encouragingly. Miss you too, Mom. I'm not good. Mom, I made a mistake, said Calix sadly. Alex knew his mother could envision the pout on Calix's face from that tone of voice. What happened, sweetheart? Asked Lunarani. Don't hate me, okay? Calix said, his voice shaking. Damn, he was good, thought Alex, making an impressed face at Felix, who nodded in agreement. I could never, ever, ever hate you, Calix. You are my baby boy. Now tell Mommy what happened. She's worried sick, said Lunarani. I let it slip to Chastity about how your little stepbrother is her father, Calix mumbled. He knew the Luna had heard him. They were werewolves. Calix, you have to be careful, hun, okay? Especially around her, scolded the Luna. Okay, Mommy, but she asked something of me, and I want to give it to her, said Calix. Okay, said the Luna, slowly prompting Calix to continue. I promised her I would help her find out what happened to her parents after that day they drove and left her at the pack house, said Calix, getting straight to the point. There was more silence. Felix and Alex promised too. It was either that or risk her running away to find out on her own. She could disappear too, Mom, or get hurt, or... We couldn't handle losing her, Mom. I can't even think about it. It makes me sick. You know how the mate bond is, don't you, Mom? How would you react if Dad wanted to go off and solve some criminal cold case, but it was super dangerous, but you couldn't stop him either, said Calix, laying it on thick. I would help him. Exactly, Mom, and we want to help Chastity. We want her to be at peace with the past somewhat, Calix said, sticking his landing. Ronnie sighed deeply from the other end. Okay, she said, her voice suddenly sounding tired. What do you need from me? She said matter-of-factly. Alex launched into the conversation. Hi, Mom! Oh, my big boy Alex, Ronnie cooed. What were Chastity's parents' full names? Asked Alex, pulling out a pen, poised to write notes. They were Chalice and Chase Case, said Ronnie. Chase Case? Alex said, incredulously. Ronnie actually snickered. I didn't name him, she said, snorting with laughter. Alex chuckled half-heartedly. What was Chastity's mom's maiden name? Asked Alex. Smith, said Ronnie without any hesitation. Did either Chase or Chalice have a best friend? Or friends? Alex asked. Yeah, Chalice was the social one. She liked a lot of attention, that one, said Ronnie. Remember any of their names? Alex asked, hopefully. Deirdre and Dee Dee were her two main girlfriends. They were best friends, said the Luna. Describe them, Alex said encouragingly, pen at the ready. Deirdre was a tall, statuesque girl. She looked like a model. She actually did some modeling. I wonder what became of her. You mean Deirdre Binks? Asked Callis incredulously. Yes, that was her last name, I remember now. Tall, dark-skinned, high cheekbones. You could cut cheese with those cheekbones, said the Luna, laughing. Mom, exclaimed Felix. Deirdre really did become a model, an international supermodel. She's retired, but she's the real deal. Calix Googled the name and immediately found millions of images of her along with her summer house in Los Angeles, California. Wow, her life looked incredibly glamorous. Alex noted down the name, a few facts, and the address listed online. Then there was Dee Dee Tort, said the Luna. She was a short girl with blonde hair and huge orb-like eyes. She knew everybody's business, a huge busybody. Do you have phone numbers for either of these people, Mom? Asked Alex. Nope, sorry, hun, said the Luna. What about Chastity's father? Any close companions? Alex continued. Just one. He was a bit of a loner, my stepbrother. He was shy and sweet, she said. Alex didn't believe that for 1 second. Okay, and this one close companion was called... Alex prompted. Dexter Sharp. He was an aspiring news reporter, actually. He was a nervous guy with shifty eyes, tall and thin, walked kinda hunched over with his fingers wiggling all the time. And what places did they hang out at, Mom? Alex said. The Luna scoffed. Anywhere drugs and alcohol could be found. Bars. There was a bar they frequented called the Serpent's Tongue. There was a club where people would cage fight called a Fork in the Road. And there was a casino they liked. The Luna stopped abruptly. A casino? Alex said, perking up. This was it. The best of the leads so far. This could be the place they had incurred that huge debt. Yeah, it was called the Lucky Toad, the Luna said. A friendly place? Asked Alex nonchalantly. The Luna snorted with laughter. Of course not. The guys there probably eat gravel and drink freshly mixed cement. They were animals, always getting in fights. The police got called there so many times. They tried to shut the place down but couldn't because the people that owned it had connections. The police just stopped showing up there even when called after a while. Wow. The triplets realized they had their hands full as leads went for the next couple of days. Their mother had actually helped them help Chastity. The triplets were filled with hope at that. They were going to track down all those leads, the retired supermodel, the busybody, and the news reporter, and they were going to visit every haunt that was still standing. The serpent's tongue, a fork in the road, and the lucky toad. They were ready to sniff out a cold case to keep their relationship with Chastity smoldering. Alex's notes. People. Deirdre Binks, retired supermodel, statuesque, deep complexion, high cheekbones. Dee Dee Tort, busybody, blonde, huge eyes. Dexter Sharp, news reporter, tall and thin, nervous, shifty eyes, bad posture, wiggly fingers. Places. The Serpent's Tongue, bar. A Fork in the Road, cage fighting club. The Lucky Toad, casino. I had thought you three had wanted to wait until Chastity was older. She's only 18. She's in high school, NiRanH said. The former alpha, Romeo, came over and put his arms around his wife. Alex came over to hug his mom. Mom, you knew I had the ring already, though, Alex said gently. Yeah, said the Luna, laughing humorlessly. Calix hugged his mom and she kissed his forehead. Mom, I hope you know how grateful I am for all your help, he said, cupping her face. You're the best, Mom. She smiled. She had tears in her eyes at Calix's words. She took a deep breath. Thanks for the surprise party, Mom, Alex said. Thanks, Mom, Felix said. I forced myself to speak. Thank you, NiRanH. She plastered a smile on her face. She nodded her head stiffly. I guess Rhonda and Mom will be able to help Chastity plan the wedding, said Felix offhandedly. How oblivious was he? I glared daggers at him and he looked confused. Rhonda hates me and so does your mom, unfortunately, I mind-linked Felix. But you called Rhonda our friend just now, said Felix. I sighed. I was staking my claim and showing off my engagement ring so she'd back off. She was all over you. Felix smirked, his eyes darkening. Jealous Chastity is even hotter than regular hot Chastity. I rolled my eyes. Felix grabbed my ass and squeezed it. I squeaked. Want to stake your claims some more upstairs and then I can stake mine, Felix suggested. I blushed and extracted myself from his fondling. He frowned but followed me around the party. I found Mina and Tina. They screamed. I screamed. We all screamed. These were the only two wedding planners I needed. We danced around in a circle like little elves that bake cookies and trees. They gasped at my engagement ring, and one of them snapped a quick pic of it with her iPhone. I'm gagged, said Mina. It's gorgeous, said Tina. Felix was grinning at our antics. You know Mina and Tina, right? I said to him. They're familiar, he said politely. They squealed. Are these your bridesmaids, then? Asked Felix. He was always putting me on the spot, but actually, yeah, these are my bridesmaids and wedding planners if they want to do double duty, I said. They screamed. I giggled. We love double everything, shrieked Mina. And triple somethings, joked Tina, shimmying and looking at Felix. You're so lucky, Chastity, and you're gonna be a super cute bride. I smiled. At least there were 2 people here who were actually happy for me. 3 people. Mr. Johnson. He came over and bear hugged me. He was in a white t-shirt that was straining against his huge muscles. Congratulations, Chastity, he said, looking at my ring. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, I said, smiling. You're welcome, Luna. Call me Jimmy, he insisted. Thanks, Jimmy, I said, blushing. Then keep calling me Chastity, I said, suddenly a little emotional. He was one of the only people who ever got my name right back when the triplets and everyone else called me Charity. He pinched my cheek and ruffled my hair. His mate, Miss Johnson, came over. She was tiny, about 4 inches or more shorter than me, with long, wavy light brown hair and hazel eyes. She had a few freckles scattered around her nose. She was wearing a loose-fitting tunic and was in colorful socks with anklets on both feet, but no shoes. "Chastity! Salutations and congratulations! Whew!" she said. She had a bottle of wine in her hand. She was our bohemian art teacher at school, and a bit of a party girl. A sharp contrast to Jimmy, who was straight-laced and disciplined. They were both kind, though. She seemed a little tipsy already. "Thank you, Miss Johnson," I said, smiling. "It's justice," she said, raising her hands. "Not like solving crimes and stuff. My name is Justine." "Justine or Justice?" I asked, confused. "Justine," she said, hiccuping. "No, it's actually Justice, not Justine," said Jimmy gently, taking the bottle away from her and steadying her. I smiled awkwardly. "Chastity, a minute," said the Luna, coming over with her ice stare. "Sure," I said, and nodded at Jimmy and Justice. I followed the Luna into the kitchen just like on my birthday. She faced me, folding her arms protectively. "Calix told you," she said softly. It was not a question, but I answered. "Yes," I said. "So you know that your father was my younger stepbrother," she said, sniffing and taking a deep breath. I nodded. "Our parents, his mom and my dad, were alcoholics. I raised him, you know, like I raised you," she said. "You didn't raise me," I said. She looked affronted. "You gave me a place to stay and food to eat, sometimes, and for that, I'm grateful, but that's about it," I said. She laughed coldly. "You're just like your mother, so entitled." I thought of a million different wicked things to say to her, but I just walked away, leaving her alone in the kitchen. I bumped into Alex. He had been grinning, but when he saw me, he stopped. It was only because of his reaction that I realized I had begun crying. Hey, shh, he whispered, cupping my cheeks and using his thumbs to wipe my tears away. "What happened, Chastity?" he said softly. "Nothing," I said, my voice shaky just as his mother came through the door right behind us. He glared at her. She glared at me. "What happened?" he demanded, looking at his mother. "Nothing," she whispered harshly in a not in front of our guests tone. "I was just trying to talk to her, that's all." "No more talks without me, Calix, or Felix present," said Alex sternly. His mother looked annoyed at him giving an order, but he and his brothers were the alphas now, and he was the eldest of the three, so he naturally led them. She strutted away on her high heels, her hair swishing behind her. Before I could say anything, Alex pulled me up the stairs holding my hand. I was shocked when he took me to my old little room and shut the door. He lay down on my cot and pulled me onto him. "What are you doing?" I said, giggling. "Trying to make out with my fiancé in the first spot we ever made out," said Alex, playing with my fingers. He was leaning against the wall, and I was straddling his lap. We were face to face. He kissed me slowly, methodically. I kissed back, savoring his taste and smell. He smelled like cocoa and coffee. I deepened our kiss. He was being passive, letting me take the lead for once. I had my hands pressed against his hard chest. I nibbled his bottom lip and he groaned. I could feel him harden under me. He was pressing against me. I reached for his blazer and pushed it open. He shrugged out of it, not breaking our kiss. He had to break the kiss when I tugged at the hem of his t-shirt, and we both lifted it off him, revealing tight, rippling muscles. Tingles ran through me, and heat flared up in my lower stomach. He slipped my dress off over my head. We resumed kissing, enjoying the feel of each other's skin. He unhooked my bra and took it off. He planted kisses on my neck, giving me a hickey, although he had permanently marked me there already. I realized something. "I haven't marked you. Any of you," I said softly. It's the guy's mark on his girl that really solidifies the bond. Your mark on us is permanent too, but some she-wolves never mark their mates because it's not necessary. We're bound already. If you'd marked us but we hadn't marked you, we wouldn't be bound, Alex explained. Then what's the point of a she-wolf marking her mate at all? I asked, confused. It's a courtesy to the guy and it's supposed to feel really, really good, like orgasmic, Alex murmured, looking up at me sheepishly. I smirked and then I bared my fangs and sank my teeth into his neck. He moaned loudly as I pierced the tender flesh there. Alphas were very careful and protective about their throats. That was vital in a wolf fight. Only a mate would ever touch or bite here, and only for pleasure. Alex hardened even more, straining against his pants as I rocked against him. Oh, fuck. Fuck, Chastity, he cursed, hissing with pleasure. He was holding me to him extremely tightly. It was almost painful, but I liked it. I made sure my mark was deep while he shuddered. I pulled away and licked it, sealing it. He was panting, his eyes dark. Stand up, he commanded. I stood up on the cot, my feet on either side of his thighs. He slid my panties down and I stepped out of them. He tossed them aside. He grabbed my butt cheeks, pulling me forwards. He found my clit by parting my folds. He sucked on it. I was trembling. It was a bit difficult to remain standing while being eaten out, but it was a sweet sort of torture. I moaned as he penetrated me with a finger. I heard the sound of him unzipping his jeans. He got out of them and tossed them on the floor. His huge cock was at attention directly below me. He nipped at my clit, making me shiver. I had my palms pressed against the wall while I stood with my ankles apart so he could have access to my core. I rocked my hips a little against his handsome face, moaning softly and taking deep, slow breaths. It was strangely soothing, making love with Alex in my old room. I gripped his silky hair and pulled him away from my pussy. We locked eyes. I got on my knees, still straddling him. His huge cock rubbed against my vulva. He lifted me by the waist easily and lowered me onto his cock, penetrating me with it. I groaned. He rocked me on his lap, pressing his lips to mine. One hand gripped my hair, tangled in it, and the other pinched both of my nipples, one after the other. His hands moved to my waist so he could hold me steady while he fucked me harder and harder, thrusting upwards into my pussy. I whimpered. Chastity, he practically hissed as he fucked me wildly. I wasn't expecting this kind of savagery from Alex, but I loved it. He stood up suddenly. I squealed. He was still inside of me. He bounced me up and down, thrusting forwards now as he held me up, his hands cupping my butt cheeks. He turned around and pinned me to the wall, grinding against me. Alex, I moaned. He rocked his hips against me and kept going. He had his hand behind my head so it wouldn't hit the wall while he pounded into me. My eyes started to tear up. I held on to him for dear life. His thrusts were incredibly deep and fast at the same time. I buried my face in his shoulder. My arms were limp over his shoulder as I hung from him like a rag doll. I knew he wouldn't let me fall. I couldn't take much more. My thighs were quivering and my brain was foggy. After a few more thrusts and a guttural moan from Alex, I let go, my pussy convulsing around his dick as I came. My whole body shook. He kept thrusting for a few more minutes, intensifying my orgasm. I was a moaning mess. Finally, he spurted into me. I sighed, contented, as I felt the warm liquid enter me. He suddenly put me on my back with a pillow under my butt, with him still inside me to make sure all his cum stayed in me. I grinned at that. He rocked me a bit more, holding me tightly, pressing me into the cot with his body weight. He made sure every last drop drained into me. I was exhausted and so satisfied. I fell asleep with him still inside. My last waking thought was, I want to mark Calix and Felix now, too. Calix kept up a steady pace, and the 4 football players walked behind him. Parker and Brian were at the bleachers, along with some other guys I did not know. "Parker, come here," said Calix. "Aw, come on, man, give me a break. She wasn't spoken for a few weeks ago. I didn't know," said Parker calmly. All his friends looked pale. "Did any of them have anything to do with it?" asked Calix, looking at Ashton. Ashton shook his head. Parker stayed put. Calix walked up the bleachers slowly. Parker glared at him. "I'm not scared of you. Aren't you like the nicest one?" laughed Parker. "I am, actually," laughed Calix. Parker laughed again. They laughed together, only that was not Calix's normal laugh. In one swift, fluid movement, Calix grabbed Parker by the scruff on his neck and threw him off the bleachers like he weighed nothing. All of the friends scampered away. Parker hit the snow a couple yards down the field. I saw blood soaking into the snow. Please don't let him be dead, I thought. I could not take that kind of guilt, although Parker had always been awful to me. I ran over. He was face down. I rolled him over with all my might. His arms and legs were at weird angles, and his nose looked broken. I checked his pulse. "He's alive," I announced to literally no one. I looked around and saw Calix and the 4 football players were already walking back to the school. All the friends had fled. They even left the weed behind. "Should I tell the nurse to go check on him in the snow since Chastity says he's alive?" asked Ashton. "Do whatever you want," shrugged Calix. Ashton nodded. "Thanks," Calix said, nodding to the 4 of them. They smiled. "No need to thank us, Alpha," said Ashton, smiling. "No problem, Alpha," said Arnold. "You're welcome, Alpha," murmured Brett as though starstruck. "Not a problem, Big C," exclaimed Gerald, which made Calix laugh. Gerald bounced knuckles with me. "Your girl kicked him in the balls," said Gerald to Calix. "I thought you should know. I would have been proud of my lady." I blushed. I waved bye to the football players who were all excited about talking to one of the alphas as they scrambled back into school. The football players had showed up after I kicked Parker, but someone had probably mind-linked them the details while Ashton went to get them. I noticed some kids surrounding them to find out what had happened. The bell signaling the end of first period had just rang, so everyone came out of class. I did not think I would have any more run-ins with bullies, but I was not quite right about that, though none were violent after this episode. Calix walked me to his car and opened the door for me. He got into the driver's seat. He drove away from the school but did not go to the pack house. He drove up to the mountains for about 15 minutes in complete silence. Our packlands were a true wilderness with ice, snow, mountainous plains, and wild beasts. The alphas here were known for their incredible strength. He parked at a spot I had heard about. It was a lookout point with a really beautiful view of the horizon. The sea, hundreds of feet below, had blocks of white ice all over it. The sky was a pale grayish blue. The high school seniors and young adults called this lookout Domino. I could see why now because the sea looked black from here and the blocks of snow-covered ice floating on it were white. Black and white spots, like dominoes. I would always hear the popular kids like Mina, Tina, the same Arnold and his friends talking about taking someone they liked to Domino. It was a hookup and makeout point. I blushed and squirmed in my seat. I had not had a chance to connect properly with Calix since I had freaked out when we were in the pool together. I felt excited about being alone with him now. Calix was always so gentle, leaving goosebumps everywhere. I moved towards him to kiss him, and he stopped me, grasping my chin and looking at my face with a pained expression. Did he think I looked that ugly? I had not looked at my bruise yet. I fought back tears at him not wanting to kiss me. Then, why would he bring me here? I want to know what happened, Chastity, in your own words, okay? Please don't lie to me. Remember, we said no secrets. That works both ways, said Calix, sounding pained and tired. Okay, I squeaked, nodding. I was in the library reading. Ashton was there. He's cool. I was sitting alone, though. I made sure to say, knowing how jealous all the triplets were. It was almost time for the first class, so I got up, but someone knocked my books over. It was Parker, I said softly. Calix took a deep breath. Then I tried to pick them up, but Parker kicked them across the room, I said. Calix growled. It sounded worse now, talking about it. Brian told him to stop. That's Parker's best friend. Parker called me Charity Case. The nickname Felix gave me, I said softly, playing with my fingers. Calix stiffened. Felix never smacked me about, though, except once when he was 12 and I was 9 and I broke Calix's nose. I pushed that memory away. I could not handle it now. Calix was leaning back, seemingly enjoying looking at me, his head resting against his headrest, his wavy dark hair falling to his shoulders. The triplets' hair had grown out a bit on vacation. Calix's gloved hand was behind my headrest. He grabbed my neck and tried to stuff a $100 bill in my mouth. I kicked him in the crotch, then he grabbed me and asked if I wanted to earn the money by giving him a blowjob, since I like being on my knees. I mumbled the last part really quickly, but Calix heard it all clearly and looked murderous. I said, "Fuck you," and told him not to talk to me like that. I slapped him, and he smacked me back. Then Ashton brought the 3 big football players. Ashton had gone for help back when Parker knocked over my books, I think, I said, falling silent, signifying that was the end. Calix groaned. And after all that, Chastity, you don't want me to kill him? Calix said. No, of course not. You've done enough, thanks, I said quickly. I'm satisfied. No one will bother me again, I'm sure, I insisted. Calix grumbled to himself. Goddess, he said softly, making me shiver. He pulled me into his lap. Would you have even told me any of that if the nurse and the guys hadn't? He asked gently. I squirmed. I probably would have edited it. I wouldn't have wanted to say any names. I didn't like causing trouble. I felt like I had caused trouble my whole life when I hadn't meant to. I'm sorry, Calix. I just wanted it to go away, so I probably wouldn't have said anything unless you asked me about the bruise, and then I would have had a hard time saying it was Parker, I mumbled. You're lucky it was me, and not Felix, laughed Calix. I did not even want to think about what Felix would do, seeing as sweet, gentle Calix held my bully by his neck and threw him across a field. Felix might have thrown everyone hanging out there whether they had anything to do with it or not. Guilty by association. I laughed humorlessly. Calix was smelling his own scent on me, on my silvery mark, the one that was his. I have a surprise for you, I said. Yeah? Said Calix, perking up, his baby blue eyes wide with excitement. He was so cute. Close your eyes, I instructed. He closed them. His lashes were long. I kissed his eyelids and he smiled, showing his dimples. I smiled. I found his marking spot and I bared my fangs. I let them graze the spot. It was his turn to shiver. Chastity, he moaned softly, gripping me tighter, encouragingly. I let my wolf come forward a bit, and I sank my teeth into his tender flesh, causing waves of pleasure to course through both of us. I was rocking on his lap. He groaned. I licked my mark to seal it, happy with my handiwork. Calix turned his black eyes on me. He got into the back seat, pulling me with him and pinning me under him. His lips found mine. I kissed him hungrily, my hands tangled in his silky hair. He reached under my skirt, pulling my tights and my underwear down, not wanting to expose me to the cold too much. He was covering my jaw and neck with hot, open-mouthed kisses. His hands roamed my body, squeezing my most tender areas. I squirmed under him, and he grabbed my wrists, pinning them above my head in one of his huge hands, while the other hand found my entrance and forced 2 fingers in. I groaned and rocked my hips. My body relished the intrusion. Calix pumped his fingers in and out, adding 2 more. I squealed. His 4 fingers pumped me, knuckle deep, while his thumb massaged my clit. He licked the side of my face from chin to hairline where my bruise was. It stung, but my wolf purred with happiness. I heard the sound of his belt unbuckling and his pants unzipping. No amount of fingering ever really prepared me for the triplets. They were all so huge. Calix entered me with 1 sharp, deep thrust. My cry was muffled by his lips crashing down on mine. I wrapped my legs around his waist instinctively as he thrust into me. "Fuck, you're so tight, Chastity," he breathed against my face. I was so full. Suddenly, he pulled out and flipped me over. I felt cold air on my bare behind and thighs as he raised my skirt up. My underwear and tights were around my knees. I whimpered. Calix parted my butt cheeks and spat on my behind. I felt his tongue lick my behind and enter it. He darted his tongue in and out of my back entrance while my squeals and moans were muffled, my face against the car seat. I felt his weight press me into the seat as his huge erection poked my behind. His hand reached under me, his palm pressing against my vulva and finding my clit just as his dick penetrated my behind. I groaned and he grunted. He kissed my cheek with an open mouth, sucking on my face a little as he slowly thrusted into me from behind, while his fingers massaged my clit. Anal had always frightened me a little, but this was heavenly. "Oh, Calix," I whispered as he continuously kissed my cheek and the side of my neck, while he deepened his thrusts. My thighs were quivering. I felt his palm rubbing my front. I moaned and he licked my ear, burying himself in me to the hilt. I could not take much more. Just a few thrusts later, I felt myself coming undone. My whole body shook. Calix pulled out of my behind and